Peperami. Those of you in the UK and Ireland will know what this is, but also, bizarrely, Mexico. And even more bizarrely than that, the singular state of Oregon in the USA. I don't know enough about America to understand why only one state gets to eat this made-for-human consumption dog chew, but I'd be interested to know if they're being surreptitiously smuggled along the Californian coast by, I don't know, Ice Cube. For those unaware of this sort of chorizo slab of mildly spicy salami, it was a favourite of students everywhere in the 90s based on the fact that they were relatively cheap and, from memory, about twice as long as what they are now, while the price seems to have crept up. £1.30 for this tiny pig's cock in a weird sticky condom. They're still popular now, though perhaps not as much as their heyday, and a large part of that initial success, certainly in the UK, was down to some choice advertising. It seemed to be all the rage to have an advert that was either shouty, shocking, or just altogether weird during that period. Most specifically when it came to food and drink. I mean, there's the famous Tango adverts.
Yes, we could be in for a quintessential tango taste sensation here. Why, yes, Tony!
There's Jack D with some singing penguins advertising John Smith's.
Savor that Johnny Smith's flavor, if you want to do a favor.
Orange juice adverts.
Excuse me if anybody got any baccalaureate.
Okay, that one was a lie, but the point is, food adverts were trying to catch your attention by being different. It's all well and good telling everyone your product tastes nice, but that's not going to get this acid-addled generation of ravers to walk down to the corner shop on a Blue Monday and pick up a prophylactic wrapped pig's penis. So, who better to front your new shouty advert than the king of all that was shouty in the 90s, Ade Edmondson.
Nice TV. Peperami. It's a bit of an animal.
Now, Edmondson was on good form at this point in the decade, with Bottom in particular being an absolute must-watch for adults and children alike, staying up later than they should have been.
Hello, girls. Come and get it.
Hearing the voice of Eddie Hitler from Bottom / Vivian Bastard from the Young Ones blaring out of the mouth of an animated sausage was perfectly timed, and to this day, Peperami is still the #1 meat byproduct in the UK because, well, let's be honest, eating pork scratchings without a pint in your hand gives off weird vibes, doesn't it? I don't want to say noncy uncle, but I am going to stay away from you at the Sunday dinner. And beef jerky is fine, but we don't always want to feel like we're eating a plimsoll. So, Peperami it is. A huge success. Long live the barely spicy one. May it never make a single mistake. I'm sorry, what are you saying, little sausage? You did make a mistake. What did you do? Oh God. Oh dear God. Yes, advergaming, everyone's favourite genre, in which you get to pay to play a game a company paid another company to make in order to advertise a product to you. It's the glorious house of cards. Cards which are probably also owned by the Unilever monolith, because why not? They own everything else. Probably even own your house. Released in 1996 under the name Animal to tie in with Peperami's slogan at the time.
Peperami. It's a bit of an animal.
The game has to be given a teeny tiny, eeny weeny little bit of credit for not being a platform game. It would have honestly been the easiest thing to do. That's what the vast majority of them did because it was the simplest formula to follow. But nope, in this case, we get a point-and-click adventure game. And well done, devs. Well done for at least going that far. This is the only nice thing I have to say about the game. Everything else, from the story to the graphics to the sound to the UI to the controls, they are as appetizing as the slimy sheath your Peperami sleeps in. Let's talk story. An opening text scroll explains that Snackopolis, the barely imagined name given to the city the game takes place in, has entered a period of turmoil due to an upcoming election. The mad midget scientist Pepper Einstein, a name more hammy than the food product the game is advertising, is due for a landslide victory, but apparently there's a potential vegetable terrorist threat on the rise. But our hero, a Peperami, cleverly named Peperami, doesn't care about that. He's busy cloning himself and selling his clones as food in shops, which is the most dystopian thing I've heard this morning. That's as much as you get in terms of story, and the driving force behind the entire game is simply find Pepper Einstein once he's been kidnapped. What happens along the way barely ever ties into that, because you'll mostly just be solving puzzles, if you can actually fucking find any, until eventually you get to the end. Nothing in the game makes sense, least of all the actual plot, so don't concern yourself with it too much. The prologue ends with a joke that will make you question if jokes even exist. Today, as he prepares to pose, something sinister is afoot. ... Or is it a toe? Wow, way to write jokes, my guy. You did it. Because you see, afoot is being used with two different meanings here, where something being afoot means something suspicious is going on, but then it holds you in suspense with 400 ellipses, and then, right, get this, it says, or is it a toe? Completely flipping the sentence on its head, because now instead of meaning something suspicious, it's actually referencing an actual foot, which, as we all know, contain toes. Look, you have to have a very high IQ to understand the jokes in this game. We're treated to a cutscene of the events that have literally just been written down and explained to us, and here's something that you'll notice fairly quickly with Animal. It's either too fucking loud or too fucking quiet. Watch how this cutscene switches from hysterical shrieking to the deathly silence of the game itself. There is no music. There's no music at all, apart from specific environmental spot effects that loop so quickly you'll wish they continued with the complete lack of music. But it leaves Animal in this weird place of feeling bizarrely empty. The only thing that breaks that silence on an upsettingly regular basis is the voice of Ade Edmondson, reading from the worst script that's ever been sat in front of him. Edmondson actually voices two characters in the game, the walking pig's cock itself, as well as the narrator. The latter, calm and smug, the former screaming and annoying. Neither of them are funny. Not once is a smile cracked throughout this entire game that's supposed to be comedic. Do you want an example? How about taking a look at this bureau in Peperami's front room?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Didn't find that one funny? Maybe you just need to double down on it. Here, let's use the bureau.
You investigate the Federal Bureau of Investigation and you find a feather duster.
Still nothing? No? Well, don't worry. That's literally the best joke in the entire game.
That's the first time I've ever picked up a cleaner.
See? Now we need to talk UI and controls, because for whatever reason the developers decided to forego the obvious choice of pointing and clicking in an adventure game for roughly 50% of the actions you need to take. I've no idea why they decided that pointing and clicking was too easy, but they did, because the development team apparently contains the same number of arseholes as this fucking thing. So whenever you enter a menu such as the verb selection or one of these navigation screens, or your inventory, your mouse pointer disappears and you're left with an entirely cumbersome mechanic in which you have to move your mouse left or right or up and down, and each little movement will have your selection fly about until you hopefully land on the thing you actually wanted to use. You have a mouse pointer right there. Why didn't you continue to use it? The first quarter of the game is spent navigating the land of Snackopolis, picking up everything you can find. And there is a lot. An endless amount of tat to fill up your inventory, but no real clue on what to use any of it on. And I'm fairly confident in saying that I didn't use 50% of the shit I picked up by the end. To coincide with this, you'll also have no idea what direction you should be headed, or why you're doing anything, or even if you're doing the correct thing at all at any given point. It is entirely aimless and an absolute horse's ass to navigate the entire time. Firstly, in order to leave an area and go somewhere else, you have to watch television.
Welcome to the Home Interactive Transportation System.
Why? I don't know. That's just how travel works. Using a television lets you choose a new area and then you pay money to move to that area. Does that potentially mean you could run out of money and soft lock your game? Probably, but you end up getting so much money that it doesn't actually matter a great deal anyway. So what was the point of having this money system in place for travel? Yes. The other issue with navigation, or really just controlling the game at all, is an absolutely god-awful context-sensitive system for movement. To move between screens, you have to click when it says exit, but in a lot of cases, the place where you would click exit doesn't make any sense, and you can easily miss tons of screens simply because you didn't realize you could go there. In this example, for instance, I couldn't seem to interact with this sleeping guard, but it turns out there's an exit icon to the bottom left that I needed to click to get me closer to him. This isn't even the worst example of this nonsense. This isn't helped by the entirely unhelpful camera choices on the static screens. Right at the start, for example, I exit the TV, then exit the scene, find myself in the main entrance hall. At this point, just to make things even more awkward, there is no exit icon on the front door. You have to use the front door this time, which incidentally doesn't even open it. It just exits the scene and moves you next to it, so you can then use it again. This is all very, very fucking intuitive, isn't it? Once outside, there's nothing you can really do, so I'm thinking I'm already at a dead end. I go back into the main entrance hall, and this time the camera is facing the other way, and there's a set of stairs there in order to access the rest of the area. Stairs that couldn't even be seen on screen when I entered the main hall from the other direction. Now, I've belabored these points because you have to understand, the entire game is like this. Moving around this place requires you to hover your mouse over every pixel on the screen just to check that you're not missing an exit. There is often zero visual indication you can move off screen in certain directions. The entire game is like this. Just soak that in. Through this early segment, as you gather your thousands of useless items, the game will often seem to indicate that you should be doing something when in actual fact you shouldn't be doing that in the slightest. On entering the kitchen, for instance.
Welcome to your kitchen. Oh, now you know why the janitor keeps it locked. He should have thrown away the key.
I think it's great!
Well, you would. Hey, what's that stench?
Smells like me old socks.
And it smells like it's coming from the washing machine.
Okay, I'll use the washing machine then.
I have never used a washing machine, and I don't intend to start now.
Okay, I guess I just won't. If you're hoping the game is going to give you some indication on just what the hell you're supposed to be doing, I'm afraid you're shit out of luck. Still, at least the comedy will see you through.
Call that a sauna?
No, I call it a refrigerator.
Dear God, the comedy. When it's not being outwardly unfunny, it's just being outwardly loud and nonsensical.
Nuts! Ah!
It takes 32 minutes before I find my first puzzle, with a whopping 16 items in my inventory. All I've done is wander around wondering what the meaning of life is. But finally, in a laboratory, I find a biscuit asleep in a cupboard. Obviously, I need to wake him up, and my first thought by this point was to stab him to death because I just wanted to feel some sort of emotion at this point. This game has turned me into a psychopath. But with that failing, I discovered that the actual solution wasn't really too far off the mark. To wake up the biscuit, you must place a deflated balloon in his mouth, which inflates it, and then use the knife on the balloon to pop it, startling the biscuit awake. I can think of 1,000 other things that would make more sense before this solution ever needed to be put in front of me, but this is a good indication of the logic you're going to be dealing with. It's also an excellent introduction into the hideous animation and voice acting work you're going to experience in the rest of the game.
What happened here last night?
It was terrible, I saw it all. A gang of 4 heavies broke in and found the boss working here in the lab. I was downstairs, noticed the commotion and, well, came up here to warn him like.
From inside a cupboard?
Exactly. Anyway, before I had time to mention it, they were in here and out, with a bag full of, well, geneticists. They said something about a cab waiting for them or something. Anyway, is that the time? Oh dear, the wife will be worried. Mustache, see ya.
Solving this puzzle gets me a pillow. I don't think I used the pillow once in the entire game, so that's something. It's not progress, but it's something. After a further 20 minutes of gathering random items with no idea how to use them, I land at a nightclub.
come to the creamery sometime, big boy?
Most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Here we find a telephone, an entry point into what is possibly the worst joke in the entire game because it makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable, annoyed, and just further saddened by the fact I'm playing this. At this point, I'd now been playing for a grand total of 2 hours, and I had gotten literally nowhere. I had pockets full of items that seemed to do nothing, and I was bored, annoyed, and pretty much ready to give up on all sausages for the rest of my life. So to alleviate my pain, I broke out a guide to find out what the hell I should be doing next. Yes, someone has written up a guide for this entire game. Some poor sod has worked all of this out for themselves. I do not envy this person. I feel ashamed I've had to rely on the suffering of others. Here's the deal. You need to get into this nightclub, but they won't let you in because you're a sausage and not a biscuit, obviously. So you attack one of the bouncers, which gets you booted into another screen. Once here, you attack a bin. The bin falls over and you find a crowbar. You go back to the nightclub entrance and you use the crowbar on the manhole cover. There's nothing down there, so you may think you're still at a dead end, logically, but no, you... Sorry, I just need to pause and breathe for a moment. You pick up the manhole cover and eat it so that you look like a biscuit. You might well be sat there thinking, how the fuck does that even look like a biscuit? And you'd be right to think that. So I applaud you, but you haven't seen the mushroom in the next scene. Who designed these characters? Why did they do this? We can all see what this looks like, right?
Maybe that's a penis.
We can all see that. Look at it.
My opinion is I hate it.
Why have you done this? It just continues to get worse. All of these characters are so intensely disgusting. All of them. Every single character looks like a first draft that ended up making it into the final product. They are gross, offensively shit to look at. I would sooner eat my own hands than any of the food stuff depicted in this game. And then we get a trans raisin.
Do you come here often?
As often as I can, darling, but that's not as often as I'd like, if you catch me drift.
You're a man!
Don't be silly, darling. I'm a raisin.
Okay then, you're a male raisin!
Experts on the gender identification of dried fruit, are we, darling?
Identity politics. In my Peperami game, the world of snack advertisement games has gone woke.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking
Raisins.
fucking current day Californian shit!
It took me by surprise.
What do you think of nuts?
Hate the blinking things. Been trying to get rid of mine for years.
I would say this is low-hanging fruit until I realised that in itself is a cleverer joke than anything in this game. One thing I will note is that it's quite surprising how they use this character, as in, they're just sort of there. An actual character. There's no gay panic, there's no real mention of raisin dongs outside Peperami's initial exasperation. And for the 90s, it's actually pretty progressive, I guess. For once, this game doesn't make me want to be sick.
A glass of wine for the lady, please, barman.
Oh, I needed that. Now I'm wet inside.
The fucking dialogue. I don't care what's in this raisin's knickers, but I'd rather gargle my own piss than hear anyone on earth say the phrase, "Now I'm wet inside." This entire game can get fucked.
Oh, who's farted? This lager tastes funny.
Can we all just take a moment to appreciate the fact we're playing an advert for a food product, and they've decided that it was a good idea to have an entire scene set in a grotesque public toilet, followed by having the literal food product you're advertising being dunked into a toilet bowl. Did they seriously think this was going to get people to eat this shit? Your disgusting meat stick has been rolling around in a piss-drenched, pube-infested fart hole, and you want me to fucking eat it? You fucking idiots. Once you've resolved a set collection of puzzles and picked up all required items, the day will end, presumably to ensure you've got everything and you don't end up soft-locking yourself. A few things will change each day, such as characters moving to new places or new characters appearing entirely, meaning you really need to explore everywhere all over again in order to work out what you're supposed to be doing. Thankfully, I decided to keep my dignity and lean fairly heavily on the guide I'd found to give me some indication of where to go. And our next main stop was a gun shop. Why? Yes.
I'll be back. No, I have just arrived. Put down your weapon.
Here you'll pick up a blunderbuss, and you'll also pick up a load of other items that either don't do anything or that aren't needed until the very end of the game, ensuring that you completely forget why, when, or where you picked them up in the first place. You'll also potentially meet some roaming characters with incredibly annoying sound effects.
Oh, you! Got any ammo to sell?
Now make it stop.
Or maybe you'll trigger hilarious cutscenes. God, I fucking hate this game. After a hell of a lot more wandering around, I come to a wooden fence.
It's a wooden fence.
The guide I followed simply asked me to attack the wooden fence, so I did, and... Okay, well, now what? Am I doing something wrong? I better go off and see if I've missed anything for hours and hours and hours, and... No, I was doing the right thing. I just wasn't doing the right thing enough. You need to kick the wooden fence 3 times. Why? Yes. This isn't even the only time the game pulls this trick. You'll find the solution to the problem, and it'll make it look as though you haven't solved the problem, because it just hates everything you stand for, and the answer is always to do it 3 times. It's just another wonderful thing that you have to constantly keep in mind when you're trying to resolve any of the puzzles on offer. You enter the bar, you meet up with the trans raisin who gives you a phone number to get a password that'll let you access the back rooms, and then you flirt with a barmaid that I think is supposed to be some sort of nut, but this thing couldn't make anyone nut.
Hello, gorgeous. I need filling up, preferably with something as tasty as yourself.
I bet you do, you saucy little sausage. How about a nice crunchy veggie burger?
You then eat a veggie burger and do a big fart.
Oh, go on then, just for you.
Oh my god! He's eating a veggie burger!
After travelling to the phone booth to ring the number to get the password, you get access to the back room where you get to meet the Nut General. Not sure why he's here, also don't care. Here you'll get some tins of meat which contain the key codes to a laboratory that this guy has literally nothing to do with. Good world building, that definitely makes sense. Fuck, I hate this game! The final day of the game involves more of the same, including this weird cutscene that adds nothing.
Give peace a chance! Give peace a chance! Give peace a chance!
I hate singing!
You fart at a doorman, you skewer a mushroom with a pool cue, you talk to a godfather tomato.
What's your connection with the General?
The General is a doddering old fool, but we have something in common. He has a code of honor.
Yes, that happens. And then you give him a pizza as a gift, which, I mean, isn't the pizza made with a tomato base. You know what? I'm not going to question it anymore. For doing all of this, you get a piece of passcode, something you'll have been collecting a lot of throughout with no explanation as to what it's for. And you'll be given a bottle of wine. You take that bottle of wine and you give it to a drunkard. And the strangest fucking thing in the world occurs.
Thanks, I needed that. You want to see a trick?
How about I show you a trick?
Yeah? What's that?
You're gonna like this, but not a lot. I've never managed to make that happen before.
Now, I thought that there was some sort of animation missing here, but no, that's what's supposed to happen. He just disappears. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the developers couldn't be asked making a walking animation for him, and they thought this might be an easy get-out clause that they can play off as a joke. But it's fucking baffling. I genuinely thought something had broken. But no, this is just the game you're playing. This is Animal. This is how things work. The drunkard drops a button, as in a button off his shirt, and you use this button in a lift, but not as a button off a shirt, as a button that you press to operate machinery. I promise you, this is all a lot easier to get through if we just stop questioning things. However, on exiting the lift, my game crashes. So I go through the entire third day again, and this time, the game crashes even sooner. After multiple attempts, I find that the game now crashes every single time I reach the area I need to reach in order to progress the story. So I end up taking a circuitous route via the TV system and using a taxi to try and get the game not to crash, and it worked! Turns out that this was the most satisfying and logical puzzle I had to deal with during my entire playthrough. In the penthouse suite, we meet a saucy muffin lady who definitely looks incredibly attractive. God, I fucking hate this game. You're kidnapped by someone, and then you're imprisoned. In order to escape, you have to use a Houdini book on your restraints, but I didn't know that. The actual prompt for the restraints is so incredibly small, you'll be forgiven for missing it entirely. Everyone involved in the development of this game hates you for buying it. Just remember that. Once freed, you kick the pipe. And then you kick the pipe. And then you kick the... Christ, that doesn't get old. And then the room floods, and then I thought the game had crashed again. Everything went black until... Wait, what? A Doom clone? A Doom clone. Now this entire segment is incredibly simple. You have to find 6 CDs hidden within the labyrinth. Why? It doesn't matter. It's not explained before, during, or after, but it does take forever because this maze you've been dumped in is absolutely enormous and is locked off by 3 different coloured keys. Combat is basic. There's a few different weapons. All of them do the same amount of damage as your fists. There's a few different enemies. Only one of them actively attacks back, and all of them tend to get stuck on walls or wander about so far away from you that they barely hit you. And even when they do hit you, they do 1% damage per hit. So this isn't exactly a gold standard in FPS gaming, but by Christ, this was so refreshing compared to the shit I'd had to deal with up until this point. It would have been far more refreshing, however, if it hadn't taken me 40 minutes to get through in one sitting, because it doesn't let you save your game during this entire segment. With all the CDs in your possession, Pepper Einstein is rescued. Because... Anyway, it tells you that you need to restart the cloning process back at headquarters in order to battle the enemy which you still haven't uncovered yet. And when you do uncover it, in the very next scene...
What's all this commotion about?
Vegetables, your time has come.
It's a fucking carrot. A carrot you have literally never met nor heard mention of during this entire game. What a twist? The vast majority of this end game segment involves using machines, entering passcodes you've found along the way, and then chasing down the evil carrot, only to find you have to play another Doom clone to finish the game off. Oh good. Thankfully, by this point, I've realised it's far easier to simply ignore 90% of the enemies and run through the entire thing, so this one only took 15 minutes instead of the previous 40.
Sausage!
And that's the game over with. Finally, with an inventory stuffed to the gills with useless shit you've picked up along the way. The game completely gave up on being a point-and-click adventure game and turned itself into a rudimentary FPS because by this point, even the developers were done. Do I recommend this game? I recommend nothing. Nothing. I recommend we simply all give up and lie down and just stay there until the heat death of the universe. That's what this game's done to me. No, I don't recommend Animal. And I don't fucking recommend Peperami.
I'll be back!
No, you fucking won't.